just another in a long list of accomplishments by Drew Brees as a quarterback for the New Orleans Saints as he continues to make history with the Saints. What a special player he is, and he's still in the prime of his career. That's obvious. We have some gentlemen in the prime of their careers here today as well. As always, former New Orleans Saints wide receiver Torrance Small joining us.
Don't let the last name fool you.
It's just a name, right? He came up big on many occasions for the Saints and for other NFL teams. Another guy who thinks big is Brian Ellie Walsh of SportsNOLA.com. Great to have you with us, Brian.
Thank you, Kenny. Good to be here.
You can hear him on WHNO-TV Radio as well. And always read his good material at SportsNOLA.com. And our special guest here today at TGI Fridays, 3330 Veterans in Metairie near Causeway. Well, he played for the Saints back from 1987 through 1970, and he was pretty good then, and he was pretty good before that at Shaw and at Ole Miss. Okay, it might have been a little bit cold on this day. I'm just thinking out loud here, but he handled it pretty well. That's it. Keep your footing, step up, float left. Hey, that's a good place to throw the ball. To Dalton Hilliard. The guy has great balance. Here's another good one to throw it to. Eric Martin. Not a bad idea. Three-step drop. Yeah, I'm going to find somebody. Oh, what a catch. Make the quarterback look good, Eric. Who dat? I'll tell you who that is. It's John Fourcade, former Saints quarterback. John, it's great to have you with us.
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks for the memo on the shirts here. I
my pleasure, man.
Missed that one on the email.
We wanted to make you stand out.
You know,
I'm definitely standing out.
Okay. Those three games that we just showed on the monitor, those three games arguably changed the face of this franchise. Because if you remember in '89, John was the guy. Bobby Hebert sat out for that 1 year. Johnny threw out his shoulder. He was on so many floats at Mardi Gras that next spring. I'm convinced of that, huh? You threw yourself out, didn't you?
You're right. I didn't think you would tell people that story, but I did throw my arm out from throwing all those beads up there. And hey, I got a chance to play, and I've never had a losing season with New Orleans Saints. I don't know how many other quarterbacks can say that. I've never had a losing season when I played here.
I like your outlook. I really do.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Very positive thing.
Yeah, he's a positive thing. Okay, Torrance, Saints win the game 40-33. You're an offensive guy. You must have enjoyed watching the Saints offense operate so wonderfully in the fourth quarter. That was a special quarter of football for that Saints offense.
Well, as I always say, we're going to rely on Drew Brees the rest of this season until this defense catch up. I love the way he spread the ball. I love Sproles. Sproles, not only offense does he give us explosive, but special teams. He's giving us half the field just about with the way he's running the ball back on special teams. So he's doing big things for us. Drew Brees is consistent. He had 2 picks, so what he make up for him, that's part of the game. You make some mistakes, but you have to come back and capitalize on them, and that's something that the team did this Sunday, and we came out on top.
John, it's always great to have a tight end that can make plays for you in the seam and even up the seam and down the field. The Saints have a guy that can make plays all over the field in Jimmy Graham. As a quarterback, how important is that to you?
Well, I was fortunate to play with some good tight ends, John Tice and Hobie Brenner. They didn't have the speed of these guys nowadays. They got tight ends nowadays running 4.4s, 4.5s down the field. We used tight ends when I played in Torrance because I was short yardage, real short. These guys now line up as wide receivers. They can run like wide receivers. When you got a 6'6" ex-basketball player who can basically outrun anybody, catch the football, it's so easy. Just get it up in the air and let him go get it. And he's such an outstanding athlete that, no matter where the ball's at, he's going to go get it for you.
Brian, when this game was in the balance, Houston couldn't stop the Saints. And the reason they couldn't stop them wasn't just Jimmy Graham. It was Lance Moore and Darren Sproles splitting guys wide, no backs, 5 wides, including Sproles, and they just couldn't match up with those 2 guys.
Absolutely. And going back to Jimmy Graham for just a second, on his touchdown pass, he was on the sideline. He was so far out. He was lined up against the safety and blew past him, and Drew laid it right into him. Perfect example of what John's talking about with that speed. But listen, Drew Brees, when they get 4 or 5 wide receivers up, a tight end up, and they've got an open backfield, that's when Drew Brees is at his best. I mean, he sliced and diced the Texans in the second half. That's Saints football.
John, it was surgical, wasn't it?
Well, we expect that of him week in and week out. The only problem is people can't, around the organization, you got to realize something. They're going to try to stop Drew Brees. We got to find a running game to help him. If you can get a little bit of a running game, it makes it easier for him because he is definitely the best quarterback in this league. The Tom Brady's and the Peyton Mannings, you're going to take back seat now to the Drew Breeses.
Torrance, he is that good, and he has very good receivers. I wouldn't say great receivers. He doesn't have a great receiver on that team, but he has a bunch of good receivers. Devery Henderson has rebounded to have a really good year. Robert Meacham is healthy and making plays. Colston's out. Lance Moore's back healthy. Played great. Jimmy Graham, as we mentioned, is huge. He has good receivers, but he makes them better, doesn't he?
Yes. One thing Drew Brees is doing, he's making everybody better. That's the sign of a great player. We all know a great player makes other people great, better than what their I guess their ability is right now, and that's something that Drew Brees is doing with this team. It's hard to come on this team and to, I guess, be a leader in the NFL because the ball is spread out amongst everyone. You know, it's hard to get that running game you guys are looking for when you rotating running backs. It's hard to get 1,000-yard runner when the guys are splitting up. It's hard to get 1,000 yards runner when you're keeping the ball in Drew Brees' hand and he's throwing precise routes. As you said, he's slicing everyone up. He's a very precise thrower. And when you get that type of offense, everybody knows their role. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do on this team. It's a lot easier. You play more as a team, and that's what the Saints offense is doing right now.
Brian, that's the good news. The bad news is defensively, the Saints had a tough time all day with this Houston team. I guess the silver lining is they kept them out of the end zone enough to win the game and forced them to kick field goals and got a big turnover late. That said, you still have to be a bit concerned about this defensive performance.
And we all set it up in the press box. Everybody that's seen enough football understands that you get 4 times in the red zone, you only get 1 touchdown, you come away with 3 field goals. There's a reason why they only had 16 points. And if you let a good team hang around long enough, like the Saints are, particularly on offense, they're going to make you pay. And their defense is a concern. They're still giving up a lot of yards, a lot of points. This game was so reminiscent of the Green Bay game. They fell behind. Unlike the Green Bay game, they were able to come back up and keep a lead and stuff like that. But yeah, their defense has got to be a concern. They're giving up way too many yards and way too many points.
John, we talked about Brees. On the other side of the coin, Matt Schaub is a very good but not outstanding quarterback. And the reason he isn't outstanding is because he hasn't performed in the clutch when necessary to win games. And yesterday was another example of that.
Well, that's the trademark of his past history with the Houston Texans is he can do well for 3 quarters and get to that 4th quarter when the game's on the line. He hasn't stepped up for that operations to be able to say, hey, we're an elite team like the New Orleans Saints. When you got the game in your hand in the first half, I really truly thought the Houston Texans in the first half should have been up 28-7, like Brian relied to earlier. They got down there 4 times, 3 field goals and a touchdown. You don't win in the NFL that way. But if you get down there 4 times and score 3 touchdowns and you get a big enough lead, then they could have gotten the 4th quarter, and he kind of changed his style of play in the 4th quarter. He was a little rattled. He wasn't sure of himself, didn't throw the ball as good. He's not quite what Drew Brees or Tom Brady is.
Torrance, after the game, both Sean Payton and Lance Moore pointed to the fact that, hey, we've done this before. We've been here before. Now, there's a difference between a team that hopes to get it done and a team that expects to get it done. Clearly, this team expects to get it done.
Well, over time, we have built confidence. Our offense has been together for a while now, and we have that confidence. Matt Shaw on the other side, they're trying to get there. As you guys alluded earlier, if you don't get those, you have to get touchdowns. If he want to be an elite quarterback, he has to get touchdowns. Field goals are not good enough. You're not going to win ball games like that. In order for them, if they want to get over that hump, they're going to have to score some touchdowns. And I don't think it's so much the 4th quarter with him. It's during the game, and it was during that game there. He didn't get it done.
I think this was a classic example of a case where the Saints made tremendous adjustments offensively and created matchup problems for the Texans throughout the course of the second half. 4th quarter in particular, you kind of got the feeling that had this game continued, Saints could have scored every single time they had the football, much like you felt that way about Houston for the first 2.5 quarters of this game. That's kind of the way it unfolded. And in the end, the home team, with a little boost from a very, very loud crowd, got the job done to move to 2-1. A good win for the Saints against a quality opponent. This Houston Texans team is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the AFC. I think they're probably one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the AFC, and I think you'll see that as this season unfolds. It's SportsNOLA-TV from TGI Fridays, 3330 Veterans Boulevard near Causeway. Ronnie Bouvier has us here. We thank him for his hospitality. When we return in just a moment, we'll take a look around the NFC South and the NFL for week number 3 as SportsNOLA-TV continues.